In recent years, Node.js has become a major player in the web development scene because it offers the ability to create websites using a single language across both the front end and back end. That language, of course, being JavaScript. The developers of Node made quite a big stir when they first released Node, because unlike traditional websites, which rely on both JavaScript and the back-end language like PHP or Ruby, because the back-end and front-end were written in the same language, developers were able to cross over from front-end development into back-end development and implement features which ultimately resulted in the whole website development environment becoming a lot more reactive, because features which were only possible in front-end development, such as AJAX requests, became much more integrated into the entire process. Apart from the transition to a more reactive environment, one of the other big things that the Node team did was to introduce a package manager, which while they had existed in the web development scene, had never been made truly ubiquitous. For example, we will look at the Pair package manager later on, which was one of the very earliest web development package managers. But its usage was much more limited compared to what the Node package manager has been able to achieve. If we scroll down on the Node package manager website, we will find that the installation process requires us to install either io.js or Node. The Node package manager itself isn't available as a standalone product for Windows, despite being available as a standalone product on Mac and Linux. And so we must therefore go ahead and download the relevant installer. Once downloaded and installed, options will become available in your Start menu, specifically the Node.js command prompt, which is what we're going to use to install other systems such as Bower and Composer later on. So if you open up the Node.js command prompt, we'll notice that it's very similar to any other command prompt. But if we go to the documentation for Node NPM, which is available at the link docs.npm.js, we'll be able to identify how to install packages. And you will see that the command is simply npm install, and then the name of the package that you want to install if it's a recognized package. As with other package managers that we're going to talk about, the ability to create package.json files which automatically download and install packages for you does exist, but this is closely tied into the Node development environment, and so we're not going to go into any real detail about this. Instead, we'll talk about that in a separate series focused specifically on Node.js. If you're not using Node, the NPM installer is typically considered to be a prerequisite to other services such as Bower and Composer, as already mentioned. And so to install things like Bower, you can simply type npm install Bower. And because Bower is a recognized package, npm will handle the actual installation process for us. As I mentioned, we're not going to go into any real detail about npm itself, because npm is so closely tied into the Node environment. And unless you're using it as part of the Node environment, it isn't really the best program to use for many cases. This stems from the fact that it is specifically intended for use with server-side applications. And the decision to tie it so closely to server-side applications does impact on how it works. For example, when you install a package, it will automatically check if that package has any dependent packages, and it will also go ahead and download and install those packages. This is brilliant for the server-side application, but when you're transferring files across a network, as is the case when you're serving web pages to your clients. It's always good practice to minimize the amount of traffic which is actually being sent, because this obviously speeds up the page load speed. In the next video we're going to be looking at Bower, which is focused on providing a package management service for the JavaScript and front-end packages typically associated with web pages. And we'll look at some of the implementation decisions that the team behind Bower have taken to make it more suitable for web development front-end, compared to the decisions taken by the NPM team, who have developed NPM specifically for server-side applications. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that.